Hey guys, this is Awesome22 coming today with another review, and this is part 2 of my Devastator set, my Combiner Wars Devastator set review, and this is going to be a much faster paced review than the last one because we aren't going to be looking at any size comparisons here since we've already seen these guys all next to each other. I just don't feel like it's necessary. We're just going to be jumping right into the figures themselves and taking a look at them. And today we have Scavenger and Bonecrusher. Yes, I almost forgot again. And these two, despite the fact that I like all these figures, these two are my favorites out of the entire line. Or out of the entire set, rather. I just feel like these guys work the best as standalone figures, and we'll get to that momentarily. We're going to start here with Bonecrusher, who is, I don't know, probably my favorite in the entire set, to be honest. He's got some good detailing on him. Kind of like Scrapper, he's pretty sparse in terms of color in this mode. We've got, see, black on the windshield, silver on the side, silver on the front a little bit, Decepticon symbol. Not even his treads are colored, though. But that's because, once again, all of his paint shows through in his robot mode. So we're going to take a look at that. We're going to lower this part down, and we're going to separate his treads like so. They do peg in here and here, so you have to pull them out at both areas. Next, we're going to take this whole section, rotate it like so, and we're going to come here, bring these down on both sides, and next we're going to take these posts and rotate them around. And this is incredibly complicated here, so please bear with me. You can see there's a little tab here and a little slot there and a little tab there, and that looks like it would hook in there. Well, it does. You bring it all together. The issue is it doesn't stay very well at all, hardly. It's actually pretty bad. If you don't get these two, this whole area here perfectly lined up, it's not going to stay. And actually, I probably shouldn't have done it yet because I still have to expand the legs, and thankfully it didn't come undone. It tends to do that if you don't expand the legs first. Then we're going to open up his feet like so. Good use of these tread sections, by the way. It's a lot better than some movie figures where the treads basically hung off the back of the figure once it was done, because they insist on having realistic treads. But don't even get me started on that. Next, we're going to come up here to the top, separate this section, which is going to allow us to bring these around like so. Straighten out these arms. Bring that up like that. We're going to do the same thing on both sides, obviously. Come up here, bring his head around, and then we're going to, if I can do this from behind the camera, it's a little complicated. Rotate this up. Lift this up as well. I totally forgot that. So that the head can come up perfectly straight. Then this will clip in to the back here with these kind of just resting at the sides. And then bring this section down, and it does tab in right there. It's a little complicated, and I'm having trouble doing it from behind the camera. And his hips came undone again. Of course they did. So I'm hopefully you guys are able to follow along with it fairly well. Just to finish it up, we now bring this up, making his chest. I believe it can lower down further than that so it doesn't block his face. There we go. And there you have Bonecrusher in his robot mode, and he's really freaking cool looking, guys. Aside from the issues of this lowers down also, by the way. Aside from the issues of this whole back section being kind of complicated and the order of events being difficult to remember, I did actually have to pause to remember how it went as I was transforming him. I think he ends up looking really good. He's got good proportions, he looks bulky and dangerous, and I love the way his chest looks here, how the scoop comes up and becomes the chest and puts all this fantastic detail through here. And this is clearly where all of his paint allocations went, because he's got great painted arms, great painted chest, and off the camera, and a fantastic head sculpt. He looks kind of like Arnold, which is kind of neat. Good articulation. Despite his hips being weird, you do have a full range of articulation at the hips, 90-degree bend at the knee, rotation at the knee, although I just popped it right off the ball joint, didn't I? It theoretically rotation at the knee. My ball joint's just really tight on mine. Tilt at the foot, and a full range of motion at the shoulder and at the elbow. So overall, already much better. Oh, and I believe, oh no, he has a ball joint at the head, so it's limited, but he rotates and looks a bit up and down, so that's nice. Obviously much better as a standalone figure already than the leg figures were, so that's nice, and it was probably, like I said, my favorite figure of the set. He just looks really cool to me. Let's move him off to the side and take a look at Scavenger, who, if I'm not mistaken, is the leader of the Constructicons. Don't quote me on that, though. He's really cool. He's one of those, aren't these the ones that are called bulldozers? I don't freaking know. He's a big scoopy thing with an arm. I know the construction vehicle's good, kids. Anyway, he looks nice. He's got purple treads. I don't like that. I wish they were black, but I can't be picky. Really cool silver on this hydraulic here. It doesn't bend at the scoop, which I think is kind of annoying, but it does rotate here, and it does bend here and here, so that's nice. His control booth has a little tiny Decepticon symbol on it. Got this nice red here. It's kind of also on the other side, but it looks like a vent on that side. Vent back there, vent back there. Good detail all around. This is kind of annoying. His control booth is actually kind of loose and doesn't want to stay completely flush. You'll see that later on Devastator. I'm sure it'll come loose on Devastator too. But overall, he's a nice looking figure. He rolls just like Bonecrusher does. I realized right now I actually probably didn't show Bonecrusher rolling. They roll the same way. They have basically the same setup of wheels on the bottom of them. From a core level, they're very similar figures. He looks good. I like him. There's not much to say about him, though, because without the scoop being fully movable, he doesn't have a whole lot of play value in this mode. So let's go ahead and get him transformed up. I'm going to start out by pushing his scoop down like that. Make kind of a little compact scoopy guy. Next, we're going to take these, separate them, just like we did on Bonecrusher. Next, we're going to come around here, bring this down. I'm trying to remember this, actually, because I remember this was kind of weird, this whole section. Oh, yeah, right. Okay, so we're going to split it here, like that. That's what was weird about it, because that gap doesn't really look like a gap there, unless you know it's there already. Next, we're going to come up here, and we're going to bring these like so. Actually rotate it around. Bring these like so. Bring these up, and then come underneath. And if it'll come out, bring his fists out. Bring this all the way back like that. Bring it up. Bring his fist out. Do that on both sides, obviously. And then this is going to come up. Rotate these around, obviously. Forgot to do that. This is going to come up and just plugs in like that. And then we come down here on his legs. You can see they tab in there. Just tab them in until they click. This one actually kind of went in on its own. Then bring this down. Bring this down. Split his feet. These treads, the tread legs are basically, aside from the way they connect at the hips, come on, they're basically exactly the same as on Bonecrusher. And then we're going to come up here, bring this out, and fold up his head. And here we have Scavenger. You can bring his scoop up kind of over his shoulder if you want. I'll pull him back and bring the camera up so you can see that. It looks fairly cool, I guess, but I really prefer to just leave it tucked into the back, which makes him a little back heavy, I guess, technically, but it's not that bad. Again, I feel like both of these, bring the camera back down, both of these arm guys are better than the leg guys, but at the same time, this guy is definitely a much weaker figure than Bonecrusher. His proportions don't quite work as well. He's got this whole bit hanging down underneath his torso. His chest looks great. Bring it in. These red details end up on his, I don't know, I guess it's like his upper breast area. He's got this that would actually look better if it were lower, I think, because it would look kind of like an abdomen. But it doesn't look bad. Good details in his arms. This is just really cool looking. I don't like his head, though. This is the only guy whose head sculpt I really don't like. He looks like, I don't know, something on Minecraft or something. It's the best way I can explain it, really. Overall, still a good figure. His articulation is exactly the same as Bonecrusher's, except that his head, I guess it technically looks up and down, but just the way that the hinges here, if you try to make him look down, it's going to pop forward, and then that hinders his articulation. But technically, he has up and down articulation in his head. It's just the joint isn't good, if that makes any sense. But overall, still a good figure. It's just, I mean, Bonecrusher is better, despite the fact that I don't like Bonecrusher's legs as much. But there you go. And real quick, I mentioned that there is some special functionality on Scavenger for these pieces that become Devastator's chest plate, because the equivalent pieces on the original G1 toy had effectively the same functionality, so I'll show that off real quick before I forget. You can take them, and there are plugs on the underside. If it'll freaking work. They allow you to plug these on. Now you have kind of a winged bulldozer scoopy guy thing. It's silly looking, but I kind of dig it, actually, as a G1 inspired thing. I think it works fairly well. Just like I feel like the rest of the figure works only fairly well. This only works fairly well, but it's still fine. It looks good. It's storage, whatever. I like it. Now he has guns kind of hanging off the side of him too, which is kind of neat. But anyway, yeah, these guys, bring Bonecrusher back in here too. These guys are fine, just like the last ones. They're fine. Just like the last ones, I didn't buy the set for these guys. I bought it for Devastator. These guys are, the fact that these guys are this good is kind of a bonus to me, because the last giant Devastator we got was Movie Devastator, and it was crap. I'll do a review of him eventually. I do own the damn thing. I found it at a Goodwill once. But yeah, solid figures. I like them. Not much more to say. I do hope you guys enjoyed the review, because I certainly enjoyed making it. Please help me out, like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below if you feel so inclined. Once again, if you're watching this on my AJ Universe channel, I have moved my reviews to AJ22 Reviews, which is in the description down below. If you come here for my reviews, I urge you to check that out, because that is where my reviews will be from now on, starting in a couple of months-ish. So head on over there and subscribe. Either way, though, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.